Winemaking's difficult because there are no right answers. It's an infinite number of possibilities and flavors, and it's a craft that will never be mastered. It's a journey. It's not just a product.
How's it going?
I'm good. Good to see you from all the way over there.
I know.
Well, so I guess we're going to kick this off, right? So first off, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We are incredibly moved to see just the outreach and the extent of the people who are interested in joining us today. We figured, we're all stuck at home, we're all drinking, we might as well share a little bit of our woes. One of the great things about living on a vineyard is this gets to be the cellar, and an infinite supply of wine gets to be in our backyard. So we figured we'd come share a few wines, a few stories. Hopefully we won't bore you enough. We decided to jokingly call these the Palmaz wine streams. So come, pull up a glass if you've got one, enjoy it, and we'll tell you a few stories. Right off the bat, before we get started, I want to thank a couple of key people. First of all, thank you to all of our customers who have just been an incredible outpouring of support during this time. We really pray for all of you, and we hope to see you again soon. We're sorry we had to close the winery. Secondly, I want to thank life-size video conferencing system. We were an early adopter of this technology, thanks to Chris. And as a result, they were generous enough to sponsor us, and they are actually helping us make this broadcast possible today. And hopefully we probably won't, thankfully, break their systems because it's just little old us. So, and then finally, I've got one big thank you, and God bless America, and thank you to the U.S. State Department and to the U.S. Embassy of Uruguay for bringing my family back.
Yes. Thank you, Embassy of
Why
Uruguay.
don't you tell them a little bit about what happened?
Well, we were, so Mom, Dad, and Jess and I and Gaston were in Uruguay, and the doors started closing very quickly, and there's only one flight out a day to the U.S. from Montevideo, and well, basically we were unsure how exactly we were going to get home. So we reached out to the U.S. Embassy, which is something I've never done before. And they were super helpful and accommodating, and it was actually pretty easy. And we got back.
Thank God. And, I was super nervous I was going to have to cover the entire winery until June. It was like, oh my God, thank God. The smart people are back.
You would think that it wouldn't be a problem to stay in we're in Punta for 3 months, but we were starting to get a little anxious.
But since, since we were traveling, we thought it would be prudent to maybe sort of voluntarily keep some distance. And so that's why we are in the north end of the winery, and Flo is in the south end of the winery. So
I've always been a bit of a South Sider myself. What can I say? So, yep, hopefully in a couple of I think we've got about 10 more days of this. We'll be able to all sit at the same table and cheers in person. But until then, virtual cheers.
Yes.
We'll have to drink together via life size.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so to move on, we've got a couple of cool things in store for you. We've lined up some interesting guests, some interesting topics. But before we get to that, I wanted to cover a little bit of business. We are fortunate, being a farm, that we are able to continue running during a shelter-in-place order. However, we have sent home all of our non-essential employees. The only people here on property with us right now are the farming crew. We are thankfully still very busy in the middle of pruning and all of our spring vineyard preparations. I'm actually really sorry to see we're beginning to mow the cover crop, and they've got these delicious little field peas in them. So Nico and I go out and harvest field peas right now instead of going to the market. But we'll be seeing those go away because they're mowing them. And then the estate ambassadors, all of the team of incredible talented sommeliers and wine educators that we have here that give tours and tastings every day, are working from home. So we have not furloughed them as of yet. We are hoping to not have to. That's part of the reason why we are here today doing this video and making offerings. We are hoping that we can transition in these times to help broaden a little bit our marketing efforts and have them balance their day between giving tours and maybe also doing some direct outreach to our customers. So I'm sure they're all online. Hi guys, we miss you. Hopefully we can see you in the tasting room again soon. But in the meantime, stay strong, and we'll see you on Slack every 5 minutes, it seems like. And then, of course, the cellar team is all here. We're kind of on a minimal crew as well, just trying to make sure that we are tending to the barrels, keeping up with our bottling and inventory schedule. But I do have to confess, brother, while you were away, we did start a new hooch program. We started making a little moonshine that I never expected us to be doing. We started producing hand sanitizer. So Tina was able to secure a small quantity of ethanol, and we were producing small allocations of hand sanitizer for our team, for our family winery members to take home and to keep their hands and their homes safe. Unfortunately, we were not able to secure enough. Otherwise, we would have totally loved marketing to all of you all Palmaz hand sanitizer. But unfortunately, fortunately, we're going to keep the sales efforts to the good stuff. And we're going to keep to wine for a little while longer.
Let's stick to what we're good at.
Yeah, it's actually been kind of funny. So Tina actually told me she found the recipe from a chemistry professor at Stanford University. So apparently it's quite a delicate blend between glycerol and ethanol, and we're happy to share that recipe with anyone if they want to email us and inquire. We're not going to keep secrets about hand sanitizer.
So how grappa probably also makes a good hand sanitizer.
Yes, yeah, it may kind of chap the hands though. I think it may get a little tough on your body after a while.
That should be last resort. I mean, what a shame.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
It's not beyond us to consider a last resort. But let's not reconvert the babies quite yet to high proof. So let's see. One of the things that we wanted to share with everybody is a couple of sort of silly stories and confessions. The main part of my job that I love and adore, and that brings me a lot of joy and meaning, and I think for all of us, I can say this on behalf of all the family, is getting the emails and pictures and Facebook posts of people celebrating their special events with one of our bottles of wine. There is nothing that makes me happier than seeing that couple that just got engaged with a bottle of Palmaz, or someone who's celebrating their 50th anniversary or 20th anniversary or graduation of their daughter from college with one of our wines. And just absolutely makes my day. I have to confess, though, and we do this all the time as a family, we also are just as prone to drink the really good stuff in bad times. So we've a long history of diving into the cellar at the not so good moments of our life, and as well as on our good moments. And jokingly, we've been confessing, and I've been, left alone here in the vineyard for the last few weeks, FaceTiming my brother and parents, and popping open these incredible bottles and just telling them, oh my God, I don't know what's going on next. I don't know what to do tomorrow, but at least I've got good wine. So we've been jokingly calling it our emotional support wine. And we'd love to hear from all of you if you have this same opinion, or maybe you can just call me out as being a lush. But send us your not so good time photos too. We'd love to see them. What are you guys drinking while you're sheltered in place? What's that special bottle of wine that's giving you a moment of respite and a little bit of moment of joy during these uncertain times? Jess and I were actually talking about this. Jess, do you want to confess to everybody what we did back in the day when we had the 2008 fires?
This is a major confession, especially since it's being broadcast, but that's okay.
Well, it was the inspiration for the wine today, so
That's very true, yes.
Might as well share.
Well, I mean, yeah, the fires were a pretty stressful time, and it was kind of, you end the day going, well, we got through today. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but let's open a good bottle of wine. And so
let's clarify just for everyone who's watching. I don't know if everybody knows this, but when the fires hit, the three of us actually were trapped behind the evacuation order with our vineyard crew, very much like we're dealing with today, right? So here we were sheltered in place for a fire that time, fighting fires by day, making wine by night, feeding everybody, trying to not really knowing what's going on. So sorry, yeah, continue,
no,
please.
absolutely. Well, and we were, sheltered in place, fortunately, with the wine stash. So we felt like if we can't open a good bottle of wine now, when can we?
Yeah.
So we got to raid our cellar, and one night, I'm not sure why this stands out in my mind, but one night we pulled our personal last bottle of 09. So this we kind of wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It was the problem is that when I remember we were like having dinner at home, and you're like, okay, we need a bottle of wine for dinner. You're asking yourself, why am I waiting around anymore? Let's go ahead, because we always keep the good stuff at the very bottom,
right?
And we're like, it was our last bottle of 09 in the house.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah, we have our own stash, so we don't always get to steal from the winery.
And to be fair, we are each allocated, right?
Yes.
And by mom and dad, if we did pass the personal allocation, yes.
Yeah.
So I see we've actually, I think, in celebration and commemoration of that night, because of course those fires were trying times and we absolutely surpassed them, thrived, and I think as a family we became closer than ever, convinced that I can handle anything with the two of you at my side. And as a family business, so far we have endured floods, we've endured fire, we've endured drought, pandemic, sure, just pile it on. We're not worried. So we have here 09 that we're sharing. We do have here at the winery, Jess, would you tell everybody how many bottles of this we have on hand, a little bit about it?
Well, so we've got roughly like 200 bottles, I want to say. And Chris has got the tech data up there for y'all. But it's, and actually this is the first time I've tried it since that night of the fire. So I'm like, ooh, wow,
it's pretty awesome.
Same here. Yeah, just opening it up now is like, oh my God. And of course, what an indulgence. We're in two different rooms. So gosh darn, we both get a whole bottle. But, just opening it up and tasting it, this thing is a monster bad boy. There is no diminishing. There's no frailty in this wine. It's one of the things that brings us so much joy. Making gravity flow wines means that they just last so well. And there's no diminishing here. There's no dried herb. There's none of that sort of wilting flower characteristic. The only thing that I could say that's showing its maturity is that confidence, that really pretty smooth lines. There's no edges. There's just a wonderful transition from beginning, middle to end on this wine right now. And of course, doesn't help that it's got just loads of blackberry and cassis and raspberries, those classic Coonsville dark fruit flavors that we get to enjoy here. Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit about the blend, the map, the tech data that you're sharing with us?
Well, you must remember that in 09, we had been replanting. So we had pulled 30%, was it, of the lower vineyard, which was an interesting thing to convince the family to do at the time.
Especially since you were 1 year out of college, brand new to the job, and walks in at 22 and says, "Mom, Dad, I don't like the way your vineyard's planted. I'd like to redo 30% of it."
but in my day, it was backed by science. The seller, we had come up with these new things called blend maps, and we had done studies going back, to all the history of the wines. And we started seeing kind of a bias, sort of an unconscious bias against certain parcels in the vineyard, and that's sort of what led to sort of an educated decision on behalf of the winemaking team that a couple of the parcels could be much better. And of course, in hindsight, it's easy to say. Here we are 10 years later. And I think it was a resounding success because these parcels are very successful now. But we still had to, But there's still that 5 years of no production we have to deal with. And so I don't have a map showing exactly what parcels were replanted, but it's a lot of the ones that are not participating in this wine from the lower vineyard. And so in a lot of ways, I don't know, Flo, but in a lot of ways, this wine is a little bit like a Gaston in that it has like kind of very almost single variety intensity. I know there's 1% Cab Franc in this, but it was a special wine. We made very little of it as a result of the replant, only 1,400 cases.
Absolutely.
But it's really fun to revisit this because it was a special vintage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Something always to note about 09, and the weather data here shows it so well, is there was a major rain event that you can see there right at the end. One thing that we always want to clarify on that rain event for the 09 vintage is none of the parcels that actually were still hanging of Cabernet that went into this blend got that rain. So, it was 4 inches of rain in the middle of October. It was really quite like we said, we've endured so much. It was practically a fall flood. And a lot of vintners were impacted negatively by that because the quality of the fruit after that was diminished. We made little wine because we were replanting, but also we made little wine because we blended around everything that was harvested after that date as well. So it's a tricky thing here on this weather map that it's showing, but it's showing because that's what the vintage did. It's not what's in the glass. So it's a really special wine. We can come back to it later if you'd like. I know that we've got actually a dear friend and colleague in the wine industry and an amazing sommelier who is prepared to come and talk to us. Yeah. One of our favorite sommeliers of New York City, Crystl Horton from Del Frisco's Double Eagle in Manhattan, has agreed to come on and chat with us and share with us a little bit of the New York experience. She is one of the sommeliers of the busiest steakhouses in Manhattan that has, of course, as you can imagine, shut down in this time. It's actually an amazing restaurant. If any of you are ever traveling in New York after this, it's a 3-story steakhouse. It's an absolute homage to American wines. Her knowledge of wines, amazing. She's been there for 19 years and just an absolute delight. One of the real pros in the business, very knowledgeable, incredibly dedicated to the craft. So, Chris, can we bring Crystl on?
Yeah, working on that right now.
Awesome.
Give me 1 second.
In the meantime, one of the reasons why we're bringing her on is to actually talk about a little secret side wine that a lot of people who know our winery and our label directly don't even know about, which is Cedar Knoll, which is our second bottle here. Cedar Knoll is the wine that all the parcels that when we go to the blending session to make the main Palmaz wines, if we don't feel like they are an absolute perfect harmony with each other, like a traditional Bordeaux blending process, we have a second label. Premium wineries like ourselves, you should always look for and seek out their secret second labels. Some of them are a little bit more open than others. We just happen to be pretty secretive about it. So rarely does anyone really get their hands or get to talk about Cedar Knoll when they're here at the winery or when they're end consumer collectors talking to us directly. But in light of all of the closures nationwide, of all of the premium steakhouses and restaurants that normally carry this wine, we are anticipating that this wine will become available for end consumers just temporarily this year to help defray the gap. As you can imagine, since you're not going out to dinner on Thursday and Friday night this week, finding out that affordable, fabulous wine by that producer that you love to drink special occasion wines on, it's always a good thing to have. So Jessica is making a little bit of this wine available. We actually didn't have a whole lot of it left in the warehouse. How much was it that's left here?
It was, oh my gosh, something like 100 bottles maybe.
Yeah, so it's not a ton, but it's here. Yeah, Crystal. Crystal. We were just talking about emotional support wines and how fabulous you are, and how you are faring in New York City and the steakhouse. So we were joking about how, you know, we all talk about drinking wines in good times, but obviously we also drink wines to comfort us in the not so good times. And you and I were chatting on the phone last night about, you know, so what's your emotional support wine these days, and how are you faring in New York? What are you leaning to right now?
Well, I told I have it here. I told I thought it was like the closest that I had to the Palmaz was the 82 Lafitte. So I was like, oh, let's have this tonight, honey.
Okay, that's very, very kind. We're a long way away to Lafitte.
I pulled it out of the fridge and he was like, are you crazy? I'm like, oh, yes. But in all honesty, yes, there are definitely those wines. We're actually going to have a Saint Joseph from Alain Vosges tonight.
Oh, nice. Oh.
Keeping it very simple, but I'm starting off with a little modus operandi Sauvignon Blanc, something crisp, clean, refreshing.
Perfect.
But
absolutely.
Interesting here in New York.
Yeah, tell us what's the perspective? You know, as a restaurant professional, what's the talk on the street over there?
Well, I mean, the talk on the street is that honestly, they're not sure if it's going to be 25% to 50% of the restaurants reopen.
Wow.
After they've all been closed.
Oh, no.
You have to think that the monster that Del Frisco's is, and the revenue that it generates, the prestige that it has, the wine list and the clientele, like we hope and pray that we're in that 25 to 50%. And I mean, I think it would just be devastating to so many people, especially me being there for almost 20 years, to see this be what takes it down. But I think that it's stronger than that.
Oh, absolutely. No, losing Del Frisco's would be a real travesty. I mean, you guys are an absolute institution. We would be shocked. Well, that would be awful. Tell me, just out of curiosity, what's the seating capacity of the restaurant?
It's just under 500, but that's not including, that's not including in the summer when the patio's open. That's another 65 seats out there.
Wow. So on average, how many bottles, can you share this? How many bottles you may move in a night?
That really depends. I can tell you that last year we did just under $8 million in sales.
Wow. That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of bottles. It's a lot of volume.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, as a producer of premium Cabernet, we feel very much like your partners in this. And, our heart goes out to the interruption of business. I've got to say, I mean, from my perspective, seeing the tasting room closed temporarily was, that's an inconvenience. But to see the restaurants around the country close was really for us, this, oh, wow. It's going to be the F&B that really gets hurt in this, and I really pray and hope that all of you come back. And I'm pretty confident. That's one of the great things about this industry is we've always come together in hard times. The amount of organizations and outreach and charity, I really hope that as an industry we can come together and get past this.
Well, I can't tell you how many people have reached out, and the community in California reaching out to me, daily emails that I'm getting from people of course, the phone call with you. It's really just, it's heartwarming. It makes you feel like you are part of a really incredible community. And I think that you guys, Palmaz to me was one of those aha wines where you went, oh, I get like why people love this so much. And, so
Thank you.
when you guys reached out, I was like, of course I'll do this. Are you kidding me? Amazing. Love the story.
Cool.
The story of your dad and the winery, the gravity flow, everything is so, incredible. And then when I was talking to you and you were telling me you were making hand sanitizer, I was like, well, that clinched it right there. Exactly.
Only a winery would make hand sanitizer in 750 glass.
Only a winery. It's amazing. But kudos to you guys. And, I also think that another fun thing for me, selling your wines and introducing people to them in the restaurant, is you can tell the story of Palmaz, and then you have the Cedar Knoll say, like, look, it doesn't have to be a special occasion every time. You can have this incredible, second wine and experience that. And then when you go back and it is a special occasion, then you get the Palmaz.
Awesome.
And I think that it's one of those things that's great about it.
So tell us a little bit, tell us how Cedar Knoll would fit on your list to kind of, from the end consumers who normally, we never made it available direct to our customers and collectors at the winery. So we're kind of presenting it for the first time to them. What would you, as an absolute expert in the business, how would you explain Cedar Knoll to them?
Well, just like I said, it's your petit chateau. You say it that way, and then they understand it, and they go, oh, so this is how I can experience, what is to come and what can only get better with the Palmaz. And I think that, when people realize where it's coming from, that just, again, like I said, they're like, oh, of course I'm going to have that. Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. That means a lot to us. Cedar Knoll it's a fun wine. Just a quick note on the history of this wine. I don't know if Chris, you can show maybe a picture of the label a little closer. So this is actually the original. Oh darn! I should have brought it with me. The actual barrel brander from the estate. That Henry Hagen branded the barrels on property back in 1886. We took a rubbing of the brand, and that is the logo of this wine. And this is the portrait of the gentleman we found in the basement. We didn't find his body. We just found his portrait. That's Henry Hagen, and he ran Cedar Knoll. There we go. Even cooler. Yes. God, I love this thing in the slideshow. So that's the actual barrel brander. And back in 1846, Old Man Hagen made 3 very fancy wines. He made red, white, and Sauterne, which I kind of love why they would call it Sauterne. So they only did red and white, but then they got very, specific.
Very specific. I think the Sauterne came after the white.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And they had, of course, this, classic 1800s, very pompous family crest that we sort of went, we're not into that. But we did go for the barrel brander, and then, of course, Henry himself with some epic mutton chops, which, of course, are now back in style. I have yet to find anyone give me a good, copy. I want one of our ambassadors to actually grow out. Ooh, there's a nice challenge. Hey, guys, come back to the winery. Reopen with Cedar Knoll mutton chops. But we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? This was actually a picture of the map from 1889. We were considered, Henry Hagen Cedar Knoll was considered the premier winery of the town in Napa in 1889. They made it the center of the crest. This map actually is sitting in Cedar Knoll in the city hall here in Napa, with a picture of the winery, the house and the vineyards around it. So it's a really fun thing of history. When we bought this property, my parents, when they were cleaning out the house, literally found these artifacts in the basement. And out of homage and just awe of the history and heritage of this valley, we couldn't help but make our second label be the historic label. There's talk that the house is haunted. There's quite a few vendors who refuse to work for us because they've seen ghosts, and I can assure you, not a single one of us in the family have seen a ghost. I'm either that strange woman from Beetlejuice who's just totally clueless, or I think Henry's happy with us.
Yeah, they're not very good.
I'm not a big ghost believer. Too many old houses in my life. But Cedar Knoll really is. It's a fun wine to make. And Crystal, thank you for being a supporter of it. And we will see you again soon in New York, without a doubt. Can't wait to be there to celebrate in person. And we, on behalf of all of us at Palmaz, we wish your family health and plenty of time with each other. Hopefully not too much longer. Oh, by the way, any idea about, have they had any conversations or any talks about when they may lift your shelter-in-place order in New York City?
We don't know yet. I think that they're trying to push for sometime late April.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all they've told us so far, our shelter-in-place is set for April 7th, which of course in my mind I'm ready to dash out. And then every politician talks about sometime after Easter, so we have no idea either. But hopefully when it's fall or sooner or summer, we'll be back in New York and we'll be able to share a glass then.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
We'll have a real cheers. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Well, that was great. So it's a real pleasure to be able to hear from the ground. We hope to be able to bring in sommeliers from around the country each week, definitely get their perspectives on what's going on, the story on the ground. I'd say the network of restaurant professionals is quite possibly a faster moving one than most news channels. So we'll see if we can hook you guys up each week with a different sommelier each time. So on to a little bit of business. We wanted to remind everybody again, the tasting room is temporarily closed. We are making every effort possible to stay fully staffed here and not have to begin furloughing. However, so with that in mind, what we have initiated is a work from home program for all of our state ambassadors. And we're actually doing something that was always talked about in marketing meetings here for a long time, and we never actually initiated it because we never thought we had the time for it, and now we've got nothing but time, and I'm pretty excited. It's always in adversity that the silver lining comes about and really interesting things happen, and I think that that's going to be the case with this shelter in place, in that each one of our ambassadors are actually taking the entire list of customers that we've transacted with, and they're assigning themselves to them to be personal sommeliers. Imagine it like a telesom service for all of you out there. Absolutely. So whenever you're feeling like you need a restock on your own personal emotional support wine needs, or wanting to find out if there's anything special in our cellar, we are definitely available, and we'll have our ambassadors begin the process of reaching out to each and every one of our customers to be able to introduce themselves. And honestly, I challenge you all, they're all so bright and so talented, and truly so many of them are extraordinary palates and very knowledgeable. You don't just have to talk to them about Palmaz. You can talk to them wine pairings, about farming practices, wine technology, everything that we have here from the technology and a knowledge base at the winery, they have at home, and happy to share with you. So if you've got time or nothing but time right now sitting at home and want to deep dive into a different subject or some of the minutiae of what we do here at Palmaz, these gentlemen and ladies are more than available to share with you. Also, if you are new to our winery and have not previously transacted with us, please give us a call, and we are happy to hook you up, probably ask you a couple of questions, what your styles are, what your interests are, and then we'll try and assign you pair you with the right ambassador. So once again, those are our phone numbers and contacts. Pretty much you could smoke screen us these days and we'll figure out a way to get back to you. So
That's right.
not smoke. It's, the Indians, when they did was it smoke signal? There we go. So let's see. We were talking earlier about the 2009, and I think we covered Almost all of that. So like we mentioned, we are making a few of these bottles available to you. We figured if you're going to make the effort to come out and listen to us on video or podcast later on, we wanted to make sure that you always had something like a little upper hand on everyone else and knew what was going on. So this is going to be a secret offering for only those who heard about it or saw this. We will not be making this broader available to winery or to allocations throughout the country. So again, we encourage you to give us a call, check it out. Jess, you want to tell them a little bit about the price, availability, timing, shipping?
Yeah.
Give us all the text.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so fortunately too, we've got our fulfillment staff here as well. So, shipping and all of that is, still running. So that's working really smoothly, thankfully. So, we've got just a couple hundred bottles of that 09 available. It's at $205 a bottle. And then the Cedar Knoll, we've got a smaller amount of those available in 750s, around 100 bottles, I believe. But we've also got some magnums available in the Cedar Knoll as well. And those are so much fun.
Those are so much fun for parties. I know we're not supposed to do parties right now, but for later.
It depends. I don't know.
I was about to say, honestly, it doesn't take too many people in my house to drink a whole Magnum, so maybe I shouldn't say much.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. We say that as we have 2 bottles of wine in front of 2 people, so.
Yeah.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
It was, a lot of people in the are sending in questions. How do they normally find Cedar Knoll? And normally Cedar Knoll is offered direct. It's the wine that we sell direct to the wholesale market, right? So that's the restaurants and retailers around the country and around the world. Actually, it goes to other countries as well. So we typically don't sell this wine in the winery, but since there's been a bit of a pullback in the wholesale side, that's why we're thinking of maybe making it available, or a small amount of it available to our customers direct from the winery. And so the answer is, so many people are asking that question, is there a way to get it? Yes, there is a way to get it. And the other question that a lot of people are asking is, can they pick their somm? We obviously encourage you. Many of you have very fond memories of coming to the winery and have a real personal connection with the state ambassador that you toured with, and absolutely. And if you want to contact them directly, it's very simple. It's always our first name at palmazvineyards.com. And if you're not quite sure, or it's not going through, again, just go to contact us, and we'll make sure to reconnect you with the ambassador you already know. So we're happy to accommodate that. We're not drawing names out of a hat here.
No, of course not. And actually, we've already been making some of those efforts prior in their assignments today. So some of their assignments have been based off of their past transactions and who they were working with. That's wonderful. So yes, the other way that you can also try and find Cedar Knoll is to call, and I would definitely encourage this, because this is in distribution in most states in America, but only like maybe 10, 15 cases per state. So if you've got a restaurant, especially here in California, a lot of restaurants still are, now they've passed a law where they're able to actually add wine to their orders. And for carryout, that previously was not allowed. It is allowed now. I think other states are rolling out that policy. So definitely give it a try. Distributors are still trying to deliver to restaurants every day. Obviously, restaurant traffic is completely dead, and there's very few of those happening. So there is some Cedar Knoll in distribution out there nationwide. And I encourage you to definitely contact your neighborhood restaurant shop or wine shop that you like to work with. It may be hard to find, honestly, in these times, if a lot of the distribution chain is sort of semi-shut down. But of course, We do have some here. We're essentially making what was left over for shipping available to ship direct to consumers. So we were right at the end of the allocation schedule. The last, the last few shipments that were due to be picked up by distributors didn't get picked up, so that's why they're now available direct. So, like Jess said, Kyle is here and ready to pack your order.
Yeah.
So, any other questions, Chris, that you see on the board?
Yeah.
There's so many questions.
Awesome! My gosh, I thought we would be here by ourselves today. It's incredible.
There's so many questions. I think, someone asked, I guess they missed the price on the Cedar Knoll. Can we try that again?
Yes. I don't think I said it actually. So the 750s are $70 a bottle, and the Magnums are $145 a bottle. Now the Cedar Knoll, just so you know, the Cedar Knoll, you won't find it on the website. So if you go to our website, we do have the shop there, obviously, but the Cedar Knoll is not listed. So just reach out to us, and we can hook you up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for the tasting notes on the Cedar Knoll, you can actually find them. They're under the trade section. So the top right-hand corner of the website, you can click trade and media. Yeah. And there's a whole wiki that's actually dedicated to the Cedar Knoll, which is what all our restaurant friends use for getting their access to their tasting notes when they're playing with the wines in their locations. So some other questions coming in. Someone was asking about when are we going to be open again? So, and I think just like Crystal said, we are tentatively hopeful that it's soon. It seems that we have this sort of sunset on April 7th, which is what the California government is asking, that we shelter in place until then. However, I think more realistically, it's probably going to be a little bit longer than that, potentially 30, 45 days. So I would say tentatively that we just kind of do this week by week. Yeah. And the good news is that we can continue to ship wine. And that was a really big, help from the California government, that they considered wine an essential service, which at
least receiving wine.
Yeah, receiving wine is an essential service, which I 100% agree. And fortunately, we're able to stay here, be safe, and continue to get our club shipments out, and also provide any a la carte wines that anybody might be interested in. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, people can make reservations, though, right? So, for instance, if someone's planning a travel out to Napa, I know I was recently just bored out of my mind one night, and I was planning travel to Lake Tahoe later in the summer. We don't know if it's going to be open, but why not? It doesn't hurt to make the reservation anyways. We're not going to bind you by any commitment. We understand that these are uncertain times, and we have very flexible cancellation policies in place as a result. So feel free to call us, and we'll make the reservation. We'll place it for you. And we will be incredibly grateful for that sense of, oh my God, this may pick back up later. And don't worry, we won't penalize you if the situation changes and you're not able to make it. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And someone just caught that there was a typo in the contact us. Someone with the eagle eye.
Oh no.
We misspelled Vineyards. Actually, we misspelled our own name, actually. So.
Oh, very nice. Good job, brother.
All right. Yeah.
We were hitting the wine earlier today, or
yeah, well, it is 4. We
can't go anywhere, so
yeah. Day drinking in a winery, go figure.
So yeah, I think we're a little bit over time, but we wanted to close this. We wanted to close this with some funny. I have to say that the internet has been outdoing itself lately with the meme department, and particularly when it comes to wines. And so we thought that to close out these sessions, we would share our favorite couple memes from the last week, and we definitely encourage you to send in more, and we'll feature them and give you credit for them on the on next week's show. And we are going to keep doing this, right? Is that the plan?
Oh, I hope. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I don't have anything else to do. Do you? I mean, I'm.
Yeah, I'm down. So, okay, so this one was I don't know where this one came. I think we just found this one ourselves, but obviously a lot of people are getting very creative about the masks. I thought this was very on point, and I've been looking for such a thing. In fact, it does exist, and if you actually Google.
Different purpose, though.
Different purpose, yeah. If you actually Google wine mask, there is actually a device that you press over your nose, and it has holes in it, and it's supposed to help you sort of enhance the aromatic properties of the wine. So it is incredible. It's shaped to fit your whole mouth and nose. Go look it up. You won't believe it. There is an endless amount of wine gadgets in the world,
So Chris, I love it, and I want to see that next week. But let me ask you: so is this one considered a V95 for vintage 95?
I have no idea.
That'd be pretty good vintage.
I have no idea. Yeah, but you can put whatever vintage you want in it. So the second one and the last one we'll show is this one's pretty good. Is how to build your own wine tour right at home. So I thought this was very creative.
This actually came from my mother. This came from. So we actually are thinking of modifying this one for Palmaz Vineyards, in which you can have the Muscat on the balcony, and then you can switch to the Chardonnay in the living room. Maybe have a little Riesling in the kitchen. Then, of course, the master bedroom should be Palmaz. Maybe the kids' closet should be Cedar Knoll, or maybe with a rosé. So we'll be working on this one for the Palmaz Vineyards wine tour at home.
Yeah, we'll make our own version.
I mean, honestly, we're probably not too far away already.
Yeah.
With the amount of wine stashed in closets in my house, there's some truth to that.
Absolutely.
So there's one more, which I thought was really good. And also, we do love beer here. So, we don't only drink wine, but we all have our favorite bartender out in the world. And I thought this was really, really great. So maybe if you ask nicely, your local bartender will FaceTime you while you drink your beer at home. And actually,
it's a little bit like what we're doing now.
Yes, except you don't want me to mix a drink for you. But
no.
This is actually a great idea, and I hope that all the bars that are closed think about this. Maybe it would be a big success.
It just goes to show that, vintners are very creative. We already figured that out without even needing to have a meme do it. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, listen, thank you so much for joining us, and, send us ideas on what you'd like to see on future shows, who you'd like to be guests. We have a lot of people interested in joining in. We'd love to have maybe a couple customers if anybody wants to be on the show, and maybe show us what you've been doing with the wines at home and some culinary adventures, and also if there's any beef members out there, if you want to share some of the exciting stuff you're doing with the Genesee Valley Ranch Wagyu. So, anyways, until next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.